Wild strawberry, known scientifically as Fragaria vesca, is one of the oldest and most fragrant fruits on Earth. Long before the supermarket strawberry existed, before selective breeding, hybridization adventures, or large-scale agriculture, wild strawberries thrived naturally in forests, meadows, mountain slopes, and riverbanks across Europe, Asia, and the Americas. Their size may be tiny, but their importance in fruit evolution, human culture, and food history is enormous. Unlike modern cultivated strawberries, Fragaria times ananassa, which are the product of hybridization between North and South American species in the 18th century, wild strawberries predate human civilization entirely. Archaeobotanical evidence suggests that prehistoric people collected them as early as the Stone Age. Their small form, intense aroma, and bright flavor made them a prized seasonal treat for hunter-gatherers. Because they are extremely perishable, they were likely eaten fresh, crushed into early preserves, or dried in the sun for travel. What makes wild strawberries especially fascinating is the global adaptability. While Fragaria vesca is the most famous species, it is part of a wider network of wild relatives, including Fragaria viridis, Fragaria moscata, and several North American species like Fragaria virginiana. Each produces berries with a slightly different taste, sometimes sweeter, sometimes sharper, sometimes more floral, sometimes more earthy. The growth patterns also vary. Some prefer forests with filtered sunlight, others thrive in grasslands or rocky alpine habitats. Wild strawberry plants reproduce both by seeds and by runners, stolons. The runners allow them to carpet the forest floor, forming natural mats that stabilize soil and support the ecosystem. When the berries ripen, typically between late spring and early summer, they attract birds, small mammals, insects, and humans alike. Seed dispersal happens when wildlife eats the berries and later expels the tiny seeds, allowing the plant to spread widely. This ecological strategy made wild strawberries one of the most successful berry species in temperate ecosystems. One of the defining features of wild strawberries is their unmatched aroma. Cultivated strawberries often struggle to reach the same level of intensity because modern breeding prioritized size, firmness, and transport durability, traits that unfortunately dilute flavor. Wild strawberries, however, are flavor bombs. Their aroma comes from a complex mix of esters, aldehydes, and unique compounds such as methylanthranilate and furanol, responsible for the sweet, candy-like scent. These berries contain a higher concentration of volatile compounds per gram than any cultivated variety. Even more interesting is that the wild strawberry's seeds sit on the outside of the fruit, a botanical oddity shared with cultivated strawberries. In fact, the berry itself is not a true berry but an enlarged receptacle. Each small seed, achene, is technically its own fruit. This unusual structure evolved as a seed dispersal advantage, allowing animals to ingest dozens of tiny fruits at once. Historical societies deeply appreciated wild strawberries. Ancient Romans considered them symbols of Venus, associating them with beauty and fertility. Medieval Europeans cultivated small patches of wild strawberries in monastery gardens not for large harvests but for medicinal and ornamental purposes. They used the leaves for teas believed to soothe digestion. The berries were mashed into early syrups and tonics. In North America, indigenous communities used wild strawberries in ceremonial foods and early versions of strawberry shortcake. It wasn't until the 14th century that Europeans began seriously cultivating wild strawberries. King Charles V of France famously grew over 1,000 strawberry plants in his royal gardens. These early gardens, however, still relied entirely on wild species. The fruits remained small, delicate, and hard to transport, limiting their availability to local consumption. Hybridization changed everything. When European botanists encountered Fragaria chiloensis in Chile and Fragaria virginiana in North America, they unintentionally crossed them in French gardens. The result was Fragaria times ananassa, the ancestor of modern strawberries, larger, juicier, and more commercially viable. The wild strawberry's direct influence on modern strawberry genetics decreased, but its importance never vanished. Today, wild strawberries are experiencing a resurgence. Foragers seek them for their unmatched taste. Chefs use them in high-end desserts, infusions, and sauces. Perfume houses extract their aroma molecules to create delicate, fruity notes. Geneticists study wild species to understand disease resistance, frost tolerance, and flavor pathways that cultivated varieties have lost. Breeders believe wild strawberry genes are key to restoring the bursting aroma consumers crave. On the ecological front, wild strawberries remain vital. Their early flowers provide nectar to spring pollinators at a time when few blossoms are available. The dense growth stabilizes soil and forest margins. Their fruit feeds a wide range of animals, maintaining biodiversity. In many regions, wild strawberries act as pioneer plants, thriving in disturbed ground and helping rehabilitate damaged habitats. One remarkable feature of wild strawberries is their diploid chromosome count, 2n equals 14, compared to the octoploid cultivated strawberry, 2n equals 56. This simpler genome makes wild strawberries extremely valuable in genetic research. They serve as a model species for studying fruit development, disease pathways, and plant-environment interactions. Scientists often use Fragaria vesca because its genes are easier to map, manipulate, and understand. Another fascinating aspect is their variability. Even within a single patch, wild strawberries may differ in sweetness, shape, color, and size due to natural genetic recombination. This diversity allowed the species to thrive through climate shifts and habitat fragmentation. It also provides a genetic library for future breeding efforts. As global demand for flavorful fruit grows, researchers are turning back to these tiny berries for clues. Culinary traditions also keep wild strawberries alive culturally. In Nordic countries, they are treasured summer delicacies. In Eastern Europe, they feature in jams, liqueurs, and pastries. In Japan, wild strawberries symbolize purity and seasonal change. In France, the famous fraise des bois retains a legendary reputation among chefs for its perfume-like aroma. These cultural threads highlight the enduring power of a fruit that is barely the size of a fingernail. Ultimately, wild strawberries represent the purest form of strawberry flavor, untouched, unmodified, and evolved entirely through nature's selective pressures. Their story is intertwined with ecosystems, human history, and the emergence of modern fruit science. Their tiny size masks a colossal legacy. These berries paved the way for one of the world's most beloved fruits. Wild strawberries remind us that the origins of flavor, agriculture, and human appreciation for sweetness often begin not in a farm field but in the quiet shade of a forest floor, where ancient plants still grow much as they did thousands of years ago.